Through the years, you've never let me down. You've turned my life around. The sweetest days I found with you. Through the years, I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I stayed right here with you through the years. Through the years, you've never let me down. You've turned my life around. The sweetest days I found with you. Through the years, I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I stayed right here with you through the years. Through the years, you've never let me down. You've turned my life around. The sweetest days I found with you. Through the years, I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I stayed right here with you through the years.
What do you plan to do after you leave office in January? And Rosie's never answered this question for me. Let's see if he does for you.
It's funny that you should ask, Brad. I think I will be taking your job.
Oh my
Roll
goodness.
I can't remember when you weren't there.
Mayor Deke Copenhaver, you never, ever changed. George Escala, our senior reporter, we showed that montage really for one reason, to show that running or competing in 4 Ironmans is good for you. He never aged. That was 6 years, I think, the past 6 years of the Means Report. What about seeing him up close day to day? Do you ever notice aging or changes? One gray hair?
No, but it was the contrast between you two even added to it.
I know, it was sad. It was sad. I had my highs and lows. And also, Enjoy, that song will now be stuck in your head for the next week.
Yeah,
Mayor,
thank you very much.
How do you do it? How do you keep yourself in such great shape and always looking the same?
I couldn't tell you. It's that stress-free lifestyle that I lead, but I am committed to exercise. I go to the Y every day, and I think that helps. I try to eat right, take my vitamins, and so it all, and probably good genes too.
Yeah, well that.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. and Mrs. Copenhaver, and that certainly does help. Any questions for this man before he bails out in a few short weeks?
I think we talked about 9 years in the mayor's
9
office.
years.
Mm-hmm.
What was the biggest regret?
You know, I would say, obviously, I'd like to have seen the new baseball stadium not go on the North Augusta side, but still the fact that, you know, if we hadn't kept them in the game, they could have left the market entirely. So that's not a complete regret. One of my biggest regrets, though, is that in the past 9 years, I've tried to lead by example with regards to, you know, being on the high road, with regards to not getting petty and, you know, going after my fellow colleagues in public. And I had hoped that that would change sort of the dynamic, but it seems like the politics are pretty much the same after 9 years as they were when I took office.
That's what we were talking about. I don't want to cut you off, George, but before, in our first segment, was that it almost seems as if tension or negativity is getting amped up here toward the end of Mayor Copenhaver's second term, and that's second full term. And that really is the opposite of what he's pushed. Are you noticing that downtown?
Yeah, and especially I think with the mayor, if you look back, his first 2 elections, the incredible crossover vote that he had from the black community. Did you never really, you banked that, or did you cash in on that as much as you could have?
You know, the goodwill that I've built throughout the community is something that is really heartwarming to me. But what you realize is, you know, in a city the size of Augusta, in 3 elections, I won with an average of 64% of the vote. And so the voters are willing to support, progressive, forward-thinking leadership, but they've got to have the candidates. And I'll tell you something that struck me that was really interesting. Carl Sanders was a good friend of my father's, and he's really been one of my political heroes. But he was elected in '62 at the age of 37. So here, this forward-thinking, progressive-minded governor who led the state and was anti-segregation, that enlightened leadership came out of Augusta. But here, 50 years later, the politics look remarkably the same, which is just unfortunate.
Do you ever behind the scenes say, look, gentlemen and lady, large numbers of people in your districts supported me, follow me, trust me? Do you ever do you ever say that to them?
And I will tell you, that is one thing, a discussion that I had with Mayor-elect Davis. I said, realistically, a mandate does not translate into respect or trust with the commission. But I will say this, you were at my roast a couple weeks back. I am exiting office with a good relationship with all my commissioners, which I think is beneficial to the city going into the future. And they may not always have liked my decisions, but I do think they trust and respect me, and that helped get a lot of things done.
George, one of the things that Mayor Copenhaver and I have discussed over the years is that, despite what you see on television, that there is a lot of agreement and a lot of unity on the commission on a lot of issues. Would you agree with that, or is it as bad as it looks sometimes?
No, it's the overwhelmingly the 10-0 votes are 95 percent of the votes, and then you only report on this on the conflict, and then of course one of the conflicts is the consolidation bill, and I know you coming in sort of wanted to make that a priority, to make some changes there. That didn't happen. You didn't get that done either.
And that's and I will share with you guys. So McLaughlin and Associates, who is the best polling firm in the nation, I just read a great article on them yesterday, and they were the polling firm, John McLaughlin, for Governor Deal. And that everybody else was saying it was going to go to a runoff. They said it wasn't. But we asked the question in 2005, should the mayor have a vote or a veto, and should the administrator have hiring and firing power? 72%, and that was in 2005. So the people don't want to see government by committee. The people want to see leadership. But 18 years after consolidation, we're still getting government by committee, which when you see the growth happening here, that's the wrong answer in my book. And I would be hopeful that at some point at the state level they would see, because with Cyber Command, with the expansion at Vogel, which is right across the county line, I mean, there are statewide and national implications to what's going on in Augusta. And so we need a more efficient and effective form of government.
What's been the obstacle to getting it done if 72% say yes? And the new mayor coming in, will the new mayor be able to get that done?
I don't know. And the unfortunate thing is that it's just such a catch-22 situation, because I've spoken to people on the delegation, to our legislative delegation. They said, well, if the commission will give us a resolution of support, we'll be happy to step in and do that. But let me say this. Look at the Coliseum Authority and the way it was restructured, and they brought on professional management, how well that's working. We've got an example of what reconfiguring the local government can do right down the street from the municipal building, and you would think that we would use that as a model.
What about on the business side of things? Are there any announcements or developments on the horizon that may come first quarter or immediately after you leave that won't get done in your time?
Well, yes. There are lots of things in the works. It would be nice to get another announcement prior to leaving office.
Yeah.
But that's been the fun part of my job. I mean, helping the Development Authority recruit businesses. And I've often said that just being the lead salesman for the city has been a good thing. I get to help close the deals.
Yeah.
But I've shared with our local elected officials too, we should see ourselves all as being in the business of economic development, and you can't sell anything saying you've got an inferior product. When you meet with these companies, you have to know the strengths of your community in order to sell them on it. So that frustrates me when I see local elected officials constantly harping on the negative, and we don't have this and we don't have that. Other cities don't have Unisys coming in and bringing 700 jobs.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to ask the mayor some deeply personal questions so that you can find out more about what the man Deke Copenhaver is like instead of the public official Mayor Deke Copenhaver. We'll be right back. George Askell and Deke Copenhaver right here.